Om Shanti, everyone. In English, that would mean, I'm a being of peace, everyone. So you usually tend to hear a lot of the volunteers here actually saying that to one another. So, shall we all say it together? Om Shanti. I'm a being of peace. Our natural nature is not nice. So, as Damayanti said, my name is Naveen. I'm from Gibraltar, Little Rock, and now I'm living in London. I myself have had some family members affected with cancer. One of them was my grandmother. She actually overcame it. And one of them is a good family friend at the moment, and she's in Spain. And I wouldn't say fighting, because that's not the word to use, but actually living successfully with that experience of what she's going through at the moment. So over here we have three spectacular individuals who, in my opinion, after having actually spoken to all of you, really reflect what this title means. Love, hope, and happiness. That's what the three of you have shown in your different journeys that you're actually going through. So, and as the individual over here, I think, is your name Usha? Yes, as you shared, I thought that was actually a very touching thing that you shared from a personal experience. So we're actually going to be delving a bit deeper into what you all have been going through. I'll introduce Tara Chand, aka Tony. He has actually gone through, a spectacular journey himself. He is, which I'll let him talk about a bit more. He has been a Raj Yoga student and meditator for how many years? Over 20 years. And when I say Raja Yoga, it's actually, he can talk about that a bit more, but Raja Yoga in English means supreme union. So it's kind of like an opportunity to just have that supreme union with the self, connecting with the self and enjoying that self, no matter what stage you're going through. Then we have the wonderful Jay Davidson. Managed to catch up over coffee earlier on, and just to see what you've actually been getting up to more recently. And I do have to say that she will tell you a bit more about this as well, but 2 years ago, okay, she would not have even imagined that she would be sitting here, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And the fact is that what she was going through 2 years ago was something that was so personal, so deep, that she didn't even think she was going to make it. But it was something that shifted in your actual awareness about yourself that actually really reflected these three titles of love, hope, and happiness within you. And something that I actually learned from that conversation with you today. So thank you. And you guys are definitely going to get an opportunity to hear more about her story in a moment. And last but definitely not least, there's the wonderful Mary Jane, who's actually come all the way from Holland to come see us. And she as well, after having spoken to you today, has, the first thing she did was actually have a bright smile and introduce herself and shake her hand in a very loving manner. And what that actually demonstrated for me is that no matter what you've actually been through in the past, you've actually still put on that smiling face and accepted what you've gone through and continued forward. And there was a lot of very interesting coping strategies. And I say coping strategies, but what I really mean is successful strategies that you've actually implemented in your own life. So I'm gonna stop doing the talking, because I love to do that, and hear more from you guys. So if we start with Mary Jane, if you could tell us briefly a little bit about your story, but also what were these successful strategies that you implemented throughout your journey with cancer, even through the very difficult times, because a lot of us over here, there are a lot of people going through those difficult times at the moment, and I think that's crucial to know. What was it that actually gave you that courage to keep moving forward?
Okay. Yeah, my journey started actually in 2006 with some other kinds of medical health problems, but then I knew I needed to make some changes in my life. It still took me about a year to get around to doing that. So in August of 2007, I decided I was taking a sabbatical. I would have 4 months for myself to start to learn how to deal with stress better in my life. I realized that for the first 52 years of my life that I'd been a people pleaser, so I left myself behind. and certainly wasn't dealing with stress very well. So I started on a journey actually at that time, not knowing that 3 months later I'd get a diagnosis of cancer. And a few of the things that I had done, certainly a lot of reading, various books, I really started to key into the intuitive wisdom of my heart. That had been sort of a red thread, it's a Dutch expression I'm translating, but perhaps a line through my life. And I started really paying attention to it. Then in November of 2007, I was on a course, and by chance, it was by a very good friend of Henk's, Albert Sonneveld in the Netherlands, and he gave me 5 words. He saw how much of a people pleaser I was, and he said, I want you to say these words 10 times, 15 times, 20 times a day if you need to. What do I need now? 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 You get the picture, eh? So on my way down to this course, I had gotten a phone call from my doctor that the mammogram that was done showed something unusual. And I was 3 days into my journey into France to go down for this course. And I said, well, do I need to turn right around, or can I go and carry on? Because maybe it's nothing, my body's not going to betray me, so it's okay, it's just a cyst, And he said, it's fine. And I was really grateful to my doctor for that, because he knew once I was back, in all likelihood it was cancer. And he said to me later, he said, once you're in the treadmill or on that treadmill, you're not going to have a vacation for a while. So, he realized it wasn't urgent to get me back into the Netherlands. And I'm really grateful for that. So that was the first thing that I had. And I was also, by a friend, Henk, also another friend of yours, Marty. I came in contact with something called heart coherency techniques. So again, the heart. And it was a technique of visualization and breathing using your heart. That really spoke to me, and that's something I'll share this afternoon in the workshop that I'm giving. And so that was something that I was doing already, okay? Then the diagnosis comes, and of course you get onto that treadmill. And one of the things, and I go back to the 5 words that I got from Albert, after the surgery, and the surgery didn't go all that well for me. I had a lot of fluid in the breast. And so I was feeling pretty sorry for myself. And then I was sitting in my chair and I said, what do I need now? What do I need now? And it was as if the face of Henk Franzen came into the living room for me. So strong was that. And I'd met Henk a number of years earlier at a workshop, and I'd been really touched, as I think all of you were touched today, by the love, by the compassion that he shows and sends out. So I thought, I need to talk to him, I need him. And I knew that he was helping people with cancer, guiding them. So Henk was really one of my strategies, my coping strategies. I called Marty and I said I need his telephone number. When I called Henk that day, he said, have you read my book? And it was still just in Dutch. And I said, yeah, I read it a couple of years ago. It's on my bookshelf, as most books end up. And he said, take it out and read it again. He said, because I think you're going to read it with different eyes now and different thoughts. And I did. And that book created another very successful strategy for me. It was really the basis champion, or bondgenoot is his name in Dutch. I used this as a visualization throughout my whole treatment, and actually probably for a good year afterwards. So that book generated for me a really powerful visualization that helped me through the radiation treatments. And so that was something really, significant for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And what did you say the name of the book was?
In Dutch it's called Bondgenoot, but this is the champion. And then a number of years later, Henk asked me to translate the book, and of course it had meant so much to me that the English version you've got is also from my heart. So that's the connection.
A little nutshell, a little
yes.
flavor.
Yeah.
Thank
yeah.
you so much.
A few of the things.
Brilliant. And so then just going on from what you were saying, Jay, you obviously used your own technique to actually overcome the things that you were going through. And one thing that you said to me when we were having coffee was that I did not look, and I still do not look at my journey as a battle. Okay, you said that's definitely something that I don't do. So what is it that inspired you? And you also used another very important word. From battle, she actually shifted that to surrender. And what you said was, actually, that's not a weak word. So we actually want to understand a bit more. What did you mean when you said, I'm not battling with it, but I'm actually surrendering to it? And then also you can just give us a bit more about what you went through.
I guess the first thing you do when you get, when you first get a cancer diagnosis, there's a whole host of emotions that you go through, and I think the absolute very first reaction I had was one of defiance. That was the first one. I know you said, I thought I was didn't make it. I did have some very hairy moments, but I remember the very first thing that I felt was defiance. Like, I can't tell you the words that I said at the time, because they weren't very nice, but I was like, I don't think so, was my first attitude. And I think everything starts from a decision. You decide, because one thing is that whatever you decide is how then, your journey progresses. And if you decide that you want to live, then everything then stems from that. But I did find that I was battling at first, and I realised that the battle was not actually getting me anywhere, in that I was having partial results, I was having partial remission, I wasn't quite getting there, and it was really frustrating everyone around me, the consultants and all the other people that I had around me, and I had to stop for a moment and say, okay, there is something that I am not understanding. I'm not getting something, because if I was getting it, I'd be healthy. So there is a disconnect somewhere, and I picked up a book by a woman called Marianne Williamson, and that particular book was called A Return to Love. Many people may be aware of her work because she wrote, within that book there is a passage which then Nelson Mandela made famous in his inauguration speech about us. Our greatest fear is that, not that we are inadequate, but that we are actually powerful beyond measure. And in that book, there was just a line that jumped out at me, and I have to say that at that stage, I was really, really, really unwell. It was about, I'd had quite a crazy 2011 in that I was diagnosed Christmas Eve, 2010, and then by March, I was here in this building. I think once you decide to live, the right things are placed in your path. You meet the right people. You find out about places like this, which don't have huge marketing budgets, but it found me, and I came here. I had a lot of time on my hands, so I came here and did a week intensive Raja meditation course with the absolutely wonderful viewing being that is Joan, who's sitting at the back, who really helped shift my head out of dis-ease and help my focus be something other than illness. I think once you decide to live, then you have a shift of, okay, instead of looking at disease, because you become a patient, all you do is doctors and scans and blood tests. So I used to call the people that came in to take my blood vampires, because all the vampires are back. Take more blood, more tests, more analysis. And then becomes your existence. And so I used to leave the hospital and come here straight from hospital and stuff, and used, the methods that I learned here and through other things that I was experiencing to really lift myself out of it. But I was still only having partial results. And we fast forward right through to literally 2 years ago, to September 2010, when I was really, really unwell, and I had to shave my head because my hair was falling out in clumps and stuff. And even throughout that, I was like, okay, I'm not going to let this take over who I am. So actually I'm going to take control of this and shave my head, and I've turned it into a hot look, and did my eyebrows and mascara and stuff and turned it into a look. So most people who didn't know what I was going through actually realised that it was not a fashion statement. And then, but then, I was trying to take control of it, but it wasn't quite working, and I didn't know what was going on. And in October 2011, I came to the retreat, the very first Living with Cancer retreat, which you were talking about, in Oxford. And I went there very, very, very weak. Spent most of that time dosed up on painkillers because I was in a really bad place. But I met some beautiful people, including Jackie, who is over there. I met lots of people who helped lift me out, even if I was in real pain. I remember sitting in Jackie's writing workshop in absolute agony and having somebody who I didn't know but could see I was in pain rubbing my back because I was in so much pain. And I went through all of that. There was always a spark that said, this is not who you are. This is not what defines you. In fact, it may be your redeemer, it may be your helper, it may be all those things, but it's not who I am. I am not disease. I am not cancer. I am an infinite being of infinite possibilities, even in that stage of being almost on the floor. Fast forward to later on that month, maybe 2 weeks after I went to the retreat, I got another fracture in my lower spine. The cancer was attacking my spine, weakening my spine. I had another fracture in my lower spine, and then I had to have radiation therapy, and I arrived at the end of October in absolute exhaustion, but still had that spark, and I was still reading, and I was still meditating, and I was still visualizing, and I was just keeping myself busy and not focused on illness. But I knew that there was something missing, and I wasn't getting something because the disease was progressing and I was getting sicker. So I'd taken care of my diet, I'd taken care of visualization, I was praying, I was meditating, and I was like, okay, but I'm still not getting well. And I picked up Marianne Williamson's book again, and this passage just jumped out of the page, and everybody has a moment, I think, of a switch. I think anyone that's gone through the journey that we've gone through has moments where there is a moment of clarity. And that particular moment of clarity was reading literally 2 lines in this book, and it literally said, God's plan works, yours doesn't. And it was literally like a smack in the face. And at that stage, I was about 6 stone. I'd lost about 2 stone. So as you can see, there's not much for me to lose, so me losing 2 stone is quite detrimental. And I remember being bald, skinny, like just literally nothing left of me. The day before I went into hospital for my final chemotherapy treatment, stem cell transplant. And I was so weak that I couldn't actually bathe myself. I was so tired, I was exhausted. The radiation really took it out of me. And my grandmother, who blessed that spirit, who is 88 years old, bathed me. She was stronger than I was. And she bathed me because I couldn't bathe myself. And I remember being in my bedroom, come out of the bath, and I was supposed to get dressed, and I was literally standing there, stark as the day I was born, and I just sighed, and that passage was fresh in my mind, and I got it, and I said, this isn't for me to do.
She needs to let go. But not the mic though, we need the mic. Okay.
Can you hear me? No,
Can you hear me now? Right, okay. I need to let go. And surrender in that sense isn't a giving in, it's a handing over. It's a kind of saying that this isn't really a fight, this really isn't a battle, this is an allowing, it's a letting go, and an understanding that if you shift your alignment to the divine, and you shift your focus away from death and pestilence and illness, and really focus your energy and you shift your alignment to that of the Creator of all things, and understand that His strength, her power, is infinite, and that this is nothing in that sense, that you can actually do and overcome absolutely anything. And I realised that this wasn't something that I was meant to be doing. What I'm meant to be doing is handing this over. Handing over my misunderstanding, handing over my supposed weaknesses, handing over well, I've been questioning and asking and meditating on it, and it was, the realisation was coming to me, and I had tears coming down my face. And I remember at that moment in that bedroom, goodness knows what I looked like, bald, stark as standing there, two-stone lighter, and I was literally, that was a Sunday night, I was going into hospital the next day due to go through super chemotherapy, super treatments and everything. And I held my hands up like this in the bedroom, and I said, I surrender. I hand my life over to you. I give all of it over to you. I trust you with my life. I trust you with what comes next, whatever that may be. Whatever it is, whatever the outcome is, I hand it over. And I trust you with my life, and I trust you with this path. I trust that there is things that I don't know. I trust that there is more to this than what I am seeing. I trust that that everything will be all right.
So, thank you for sharing that. It just really sounds like it was just handing over all of that burden from within yourself, and then your faith in that supreme power and that supreme energy allowed you to not be the master of your situation, but just kind of watch it flow. Am I correct?
Yeah, you can't meditate, realign and pray, and then worry. Absolutely makes no sense.
It's like a whole complete paradox, isn't it?
Yeah. And so when people say, oh gosh, I'm so worried about it, I said, don't worry about it, just pray.
Yeah.
And believe your prayer and believe your intentions for me, your energy, because I believe them for me, you know.
Absolutely.
And so when you can't be hopeful, you can't be focused on wellness and well-being and hope and happiness and all these beautiful things, and then worry. They too can't occupy the same space. It's not, I don't think it's actually scientifically, physically possible to do that. If you really do surrender to all the things that you truly desire, you can't then, your mind doesn't work that
So
way.
it's kind of like two completely different sets of energies. One is I can either choose to channel my energy towards the anguish, towards the anxiety, or like you said, I can actually choose to meditate or transfer my way of thinking to something which leans more towards love, hope, and happiness.
Yeah, and have real intentions about it as well. I remember being in Oxford, and John will remember this, I was so weak and tired that I couldn't actually walk in the grounds, so I went around in a little golf buggy that they have down there to take me around the grounds. And I remember they dropped me off at the big redwood tree, and I was really annoyed with myself because I didn't take my camera with me, my camera phone, and I went up and hugged this tree. Okay, I hug trees.
We don't
And
judge.
yes, don't judge. Works. I hugged the tree and I looked up at this an immensely huge redwood tree in the grounds of in the GRC in Oxford. And I remember hugging this tree, looking up at this huge tree and saying, what can I learn from this tree? And I drew energy from that tree. And I swore, I called him Mr. Redwood, and I said to Mr. Redwood, I'm going to come back and see you. I don't know when I'm going to come back and see you. I could just about stand up at that stage, but I'm coming back to see you. And in October last year, very kindly was asked back to do a talk, a panel similar to this, and I went down to the tree. I took a moment, got down to the tree. I have a photograph of me with Mr. Redwood, my friend. In that the intention was always there. My intention was to come back. Yeah.
Nice. So thank you so much for that. Just swiftly going on to Tarjan or Tony, what do you prefer? It's easy. I think Tarjan is quite a royal name. I think, so going on from what Jay was actually talking about, meditation and spirituality. Obviously, you've been a meditator for about 20 years now, you were saying? So I guess my question to you is, you know, during those difficult times, during those difficult situations, where does Raj Yoga meditation come for you? Because all of us, you know, have gone through these difficult times through our different own individual journeys, you know, be it through cancer, be it having to be someone who's seen someone going through that journey as well. You know, that's also equally quite a challenge to actually live through. So what is it that you do? What is your experience of Raj Yoga and meditation that has actually helped you gain a better understanding of how you deal with difficult situations?
Yes, the first thing is my journey wasn't difficult at all, just the opposite. I didn't realize I had a cancer until I visited my local hospital. And first I rejected it. I said, not possible, because I look healthy, I walk properly, nothing wrong with me. It's just wrongly diagnosed. As time went on, I realized that's reality. I have it. And they showed me tests and different things. So considering what other people have been through, I've been extremely lucky. And it's all, and also only had one chemotherapy, where people have loads of them. My heart really goes to them, the treatment the other people have, and I have practically nil. Well, yes, I didn't feel a great deal, suffering, pain, none of those things. I think maybe I've been, as you said, in the Raja Yoga. It helped me tremendously. The knowledge of yoga has helped me tremendously by meditation and stopped me dwelling on it. That's one thing I wasn't wondering about it. What I was
a shift in your way of thinking.
Yeah, yes, quite right, yeah. And also remembering the Almighty, my mind became more clear. Answers I would not understand were clear. So it's yeah, and I come to terms with it, and it's just something happened. That's it. I had a few things like that. Another big, to me, these were nothing but a label, and I have another one or two big labels too.
Yeah.
And they're okay with me. You know, we are friends.
So that's, I mean, it's quite interesting because just based on what all of you are sharing at the moment, it kind of feels like when you look at an onion, you just start peeling away all the layers, and instead of just screaming in your mind and be like, ah, you just literally just go back to the simplicity of it all and just boil back to what do I really want from the situation, and how can I actually generate mastery over everything that's going on. And I mean, just talking about this family friend of mine, that whatever she's going through as well now, it's kind of, I see the process that she's currently going through. And initially you could see that it was that battle, but then, like you were saying, Jay, it was a question of just surrender, just accepting the situation. And then I've seen her just enjoy the ride because it's made her grow. Like you were saying, Mary Jane, you know, there was just certain tools that you actually used, which actually helped you to understand that this is just something that's going to make me grow and make me into a better individual. So just tell me a bit more about, you know, when you actually found out, you know, you had the cancer, what was it, you know, that we really want to try and delve deeper a bit into is your personal story of, you know, we've got these successful strategies, but what was it internally that actually made you really want to change for yourself?
I can remember the diagnosis, and the doctor and nurse came in, and my background is nursing, so I haven't nursed in about 30 years, but when I saw the both of them come in, I said, I can remember saying, it doesn't take two people to give good news. And they looked at the floor and said, that's right. And she said, you have cancer. And of course she was saying it in Dutch, and I was answering in Dutch, but I didn't respond. And she said, you understand what I'm saying to you? You have cancer. And I said, oh yes, I understand it, but I'm just trying to make the connection between those words and how I feel right now. And there's a total disconnect, you know? It's unbelievable, isn't it, for those of us who've gone through it.
I think you go into shock.
Yeah, kind of, in a more, yeah. And so, and I really, my first thought was, how could my body betray me like this? You know, obviously from the sounds, this is recognizable. I went right in, you know, I have to tell you this, that I really made choices for myself. And I think part of that, I was lucky in that I had that nursing background. So, and I used internet as a really great resource. And things came to me, just Jay, I think you mentioned it too, but, or Tess, maybe it was in you as well, but that we just, the right people, the right things come at the right time. Very often, this, you know, and this was a real pattern throughout the whole time. When I developed that visualization, and I'm going to describe it to you because it talks a little bit about not being battling, you know. I couldn't wrap my head around, you know, the machine gun going in and firing and, you know, Pac-Man going in and eating and, you know, destroying and killing and whatever. And certainly when I read Champion, as it's called now, I realized on the counter, because I left work that year, and they had given me I had bought these yellow juggling balls with happy faces on them, all right? So yellow balls with a happy face. I never learned how to juggle, but we had a lot of good fun with that in the office. So as part of my parting gift, I got one of those juggling balls back, and they all did pictures of themselves holding the ball in some funny way. So that ball was sitting on the countertop, and I thought, yes, there are my immune cells. They're happy faces, all right? And these happy faces, because in the story, Champion can turn the cancer cell, takes away what can help and benefit and nurture us again, and eliminates the parts that are not helpful for us. And I thought, that's what I'm going to have. So that was a really strong, powerful visualization for me through the radiation, through all of the pain and the discomfort. I remember one time, and I said to somebody, I got really bad news. I thought I had just had a lumpectomy, but because the breast was so swollen, I didn't know different. And somehow the surgeon forgot to tell me that she did a partial mastectomy, so the top half of my breast was gone. When I found that out, I remember saying, my happy faces are gone. They were gone. I didn't know if I'd ever find them again. But throughout the whole thing, gratefulness was one pure emotion I found redeemed me each and every time. Finding someone, something in your life to be grateful about is life enhancing. All right? Yeah? Yeah. Can you share something?
I think gratitude is probably the thing that took me through from even before diagnosis, in that I knew something serious was happening to me about a month, well, maybe a couple of months before I was actually diagnosed. And I remember a moment I was telling you this morning, there was a moment where I was in such intense pain that I couldn't actually focus on anything else but what this pain was doing to me. And I remember leaning up against the radiator in my living room because it was soothing to my back, and looking up and saying, God, I thank you for this pain. In the midst of pain, I was grateful for the pain because I knew that something amazing had to come out of it. And I didn't have a clue what it was. I didn't have a clue what the amazing thing was going to be, and I didn't even have a clue what the pain was about at that stage. And even after I got the diagnosis, I said, okay, I'm grateful for the fact that I'm still here. I'm grateful for the fact that I have an amazing consultant. I'm grateful for the fact that I have the most amazing friends who picked me up. On Christmas Day, the day after I got the diagnosis, I had friends who brought food into the hospital. I mean, the amount of food, I can't even tell you the amount of food that came into the hospital with friends and party poppers and balloons in my hospital ward. I was grateful for the mind that I had. I was grateful that I was aware. I found a reason to be grateful every single day. I found something to, even days which were dark and grey and cold and I felt unwell, I found something to be grateful for, and there is always something to be grateful no matter what place you're in. There is something to be grateful for, and actually I was grateful for the challenge. I'm grateful for this challenge. I don't think I would have grown, and I think that probably anybody who's gone through this will say that the amount of growth that they've had because of a cancer diagnosis is immeasurable. And I would not be the person I am today. I would be sitting here, I wouldn't be able to recount any of this had I not gone through that. And so, yeah, gratitude can actually make me cry. I could sit here being so grateful that you burst into tears.
We haven't got any tissues though, so. You got your clone. Oh! So, I mean, based on what both of you have just shared, is that no matter what you were going through, you always found something or someone to actually be grateful for throughout that whole journey. And that's really touching, because especially during those times of pain, you know, where things don't seem very bright, things are a bit bleak, you still manage to actually find something in your heart which you could genuinely be grateful for. And that it kind of sounds like that gratitude is what was the incentive.
Just grateful to open your eyes in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, I heard it described, and I think it was Deepak Chopra, that gratitude is the most unselfish emotion that we can experience. The other emotions do something with us, gratitude does as well, but it's always, you're grateful for someone or something outside of yourself, you know? And to me, it's, I think, one of the most powerful emotions. And out of gratefulness comes compassion and love and hope and all.
Love for all other
Exactly,
good emotions.
yeah. And you can't be grateful. No, I don't want to say that. Maybe that's not true. I won't go there. I was going to say you can't be grateful and unhappy at the same time, but I'm not sure if that's an accurate statement.
So,
You can be grateful and happy at the same time. You can feeling
Gratefulness, it's such a beautiful
such a
feeling.
beautiful
Yeah.
feeling that overtakes the council
That could very well be.
at that time. It doesn't mean that half an hour later.
No, okay,
But certainly at the time we're feeling gratitude, I don't think it's possible to be.
Unhappy. No.
so then Tarachand, based on your own experiences and what you've just been sharing, you seem like a man who was very light, who was very loving, who was very warm, and just everything, no matter what's coming, you kind of accepted it. And like Tess was sharing earlier, it's like you feel that breeze on your face, and I kind of feel like when talking to you and just your presence, it kind of feels like everything's just a breeze on your face. So, I mean, what would you recommend would be maybe 1 or 2 tips for sustaining that feeling of lightness, or feeling, successful inside, about no matter what you're going through, it's all okay?
Well, it's not me. Actually, as I said, I made a friend with the cancer. I also made a friend with the Almighty.
With the Almighty.
And he became my companion all the time.
How did you make him your companion?
Oh, just listening to him wherever I can, remembering him. Nothing special. Mostly people do it, but that was my idea in a way as well. And also, I decided to go to silence as well.
Spending some time in silence.
Yes. The silence was quite wonderful really, in a way. It helped me a lot, turning inwards. And I spent quite a bit of time on that.
So what did you do throughout that process when you were turning inwards? What does it really mean? Because obviously it can be quite chaotic when everything is outside. So what was it in that process of silence that actually helped you to be who you are?
Basically, going back to my original qualities, which is love, peace, and happiness. That's covered both of things. and came out, put me at ease, and no worries.
So it's kind of those feelings of positive emotion
Exactly, yes.
that you kind of first resonated with you,
Yeah.
because anything negative obviously felt like it was friction.
Right.
So it's kind of like, were you just emerging these qualities of love, peace and happiness?
Yeah.
Because that's what felt natural to you.
There also something I remember, Dadi Janki, who is head of Brahma Kumari organization, and she said, recently she's been talking about don't think.
Mm.
She said literally that word, but what she meant was that don't think too much,
Yeah.
be light, and don't make heavy of everything. And so that's another thing I think gel with me.
So it's the fine art, isn't it, to not think.
Yeah.
And just that simplicity is essentially what we're looking for. When you're saying love, peace and happiness,
Yeah,
it's actually when I'm simple.
yeah, exactly.
Doesn't mean I'm stupid, I'm just simple in my way of being, in my way of feeling, in my way of loving.
Yeah.
And just eradicates all these different questions, doesn't it?
Hospital helped me a lot, really, they were wonderful. And I also been going now, even Marie Curie. I go
Marie
regular-
Curie.
Yeah, I go regular there.
Mm.
They're really beautiful people. A lot of the volunteers they have with them, they're happy to serve, happy to do anything.
So a good support network.
Exceptionally, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that was one of the vital things for you.
Still need to go there.
Mm.
They're cancer research people.
That's brilliant.
Can I just say one thing? Another thing that I tried to focus on was my life beyond. So not being caught up in just the moment, but what was I going to do, be and have beyond this that I was going through at the immediate time? You know, what kind of life would I be living? What would I be doing? And I had this huge desire to serve and give and, you know, have a purpose. And I'm still on that journey of what that purpose is, and I have a true belief in my heart that it's something quite humongous. Otherwise I wouldn't be here, literally. And once you focus on something other than yourself and what you can do to help others grow and strength and go beyond and all that kind of stuff, and not, as you say, just get caught up and think about stuff which really isn't helping you. Again, it gives you a different focus. Focus is a really important thing. What you focus on is what manifests, literally.
Absolutely.
And if you sit and focus, spend all your time sitting and focusing on the illness and doctors and tests and scans and stuff, and that takes up your entire existence, well, guess what? That's literally what your life will become and continue to be. Very much similar to what Tess was saying about the law of attraction and where you place your focus and where you place your energy. That's, you know, energy goes where energy flows. So if that's where you sit and focus your energy, then that's literally what your life will consist of.
And I think this is why, I mean, the three of you are kind of sharing your experiences here today, because whatever you've been through, you've actually, like you said, it's an opportunity for you to serve from your own experience, because that's what we all want to hear. It's from experience. It's not about preaching, it's not about teaching. It's actually what have you been through and what can we all learn from that, similar to what Usha was also talking about. So,
I just say sorry.
yeah.
But things like just changing your perspective on
Yeah.
things. You know, I remember when in the original, when I was first diagnosed, I had a meditation teacher, bless him, who came to my house, and he said to me, "What do you want?" And I said to him, I just want to be well. And he said, "Well, be very careful about that, because there is a journey that you're going to take to wellness that will be profound for you, and if you rush to be just wanting to be well, then you will miss a lot."
Yeah.
And in that rushing and impatience to just be well, the growth and all the benefits that are going to come to you will miss, and you don't want to go through this again. So I would say just don't just want to be well. It's like, well, what can I learn from the situation? Who am I becoming? What can I, explore that side of you, because this is it's an incredible experience to go through. It's an incredible challenge to be able to succumb, and the person that you can become through that challenge is going to be beautiful, and you don't want to negate that by just rushing to want to be well, but you'll miss the lesson.
So it's kind of like, just hearing to what you're saying, it's kind of like, letting the body experience the pain, but the soul not going through the suffering kind of thing. That's really interesting. I have just been given the banner of time up. So I'll be allowed for at least one or two questions.
And can I give
a meditation and then
Oh, we have a meditation, okay.
one tip?
Yeah.
Don't forget humor in your life.
humor.
Laughter is the best medicine. Okay?
Brilliant. Thank you so much to the three of you.